Russell come down. And what a play! What hustle by Russell!
Russell to Stockton. Stock for three. Stock got it. Unbelievable.
I don't believe what I just saw. I saw a man fly.
Boston up by 2. They'll have to throw it up. Garherd turnaround shot in the air. It's good. It's tied again. I don't believe it.
Hello, I'm Bill Walton, and welcome to this special presentation by the History Channel, the NBA's Top 10 Greatest. The history of the NBA is filled with memorable moments, and every fan has their favorite. But which are the moments that stand out above the rest? Recently, fans voted on NBA.com in 10 different categories, including the greatest teams, players, shots, and moves in NBA history. And tonight, we'll reveal the results. We'll also get the opinions of a panel of experts who've joined us here at the NBA store in New York City, including 3 Hall of Famers and members of the NBA's all-time team. Let's introduce him right now. One of the NBA's greatest guards ever. He starred on 2 New York Knicks championship teams in the early 1970s, a 7-time All-Star and 7-time member of the all-defensive team, Walt Clyde Frazier. A legend in both the ABA and NBA. He won 4 NBA scoring titles and had a career scoring average of over 26 points per game. The player known to all of us as the Iceman, George Gervin. The center on the Boston Celtic teams of the 1970s, who won 2 NBA championships in 3 years. He was named the league MVP and All-Star Game MVP in 1973. That's Dave Cowens. And one of the premier journalists covering the NBA, the senior writer for ESPN the magazine, Rick Bucher. Welcome, guys, and thanks so much for coming. Throughout the show, we'll also be hearing what today's NBA stars have to say. So let's get things started with our first category, the greatest moment in the history of the NBA Finals.
Greatest finals moment in NBA history. There's a lot of them.
7 seconds. Single. Kareem with a big pressure shot.
The greatest finals moment in NBA history has got to be...
It's all over. The Boston Celtics are once again the world champions.
It's a Laker ball and a shot to win it.
Down by 1. 5 seconds to go. Magic down the middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12. Good!
Magic or Kareem. One of the two. One of those guys is going to take the last shot. You know, I think that was pretty obvious to everyone in the building. But no one expected Magic to shoot a 12-foot hook shot. It was all net. There was no question about that.
Havlicek. He's coming around on the left.
Every time, you think the game is in the balance, somebody makes a big play. And this game was like that all the way to the end.
Won't start till it's touched. They'll have to throw it up. Garherd turnaround shot in the air. It's good. It's tied again. I don't believe it.
I mean, I guess, of course, Michael Jordan playing at Utah, Game 6. The shot, of course. That's a legend being a legend.
Michael against Russell, 12 seconds. 11, 10. Jordan a drive, hangs, fires, yards! He scores! The Bulls lead 87-86.
One moment I'll never forget is Magic's junior skyhook that beat our Celtics in 1987. And Dave, you were involved in one of the great moments, 1976, the triple overtime game against Phoenix. What are your memories and your special moments in the NBA Finals history?
Well, obviously there's been so many great moments in NBA history, but I'm kind of partial to that triple overtime because they don't happen that often in final series.
Plus the fact that you won.
That was nice, yes. That game started like 9 o'clock on a Friday night, ended like 12, whatever it was, on Saturday. And there were a lot of people that were involved in heroic type roles. So it wasn't just one or two players that were deciding the fate of the game at the end of each overtime. And a lot of the bench players came into play because people like myself had fouled out somewhere along the line.
Clyde, we're talking to one guy. What about Willis Reed limping onto the court to galvanize the Knicks team?
1970.
Yeah.
You were there. You had a big game. 36 points, 19 assists.
Well, if he had George guarding him, he wouldn't have got all those.
He had Jerry West guarding him. Come on.
7 rebounds, 4 steals. I sold popcorn at halftime. I mean, I did it all, but it all only happened because Willis Reed had the courage to play in that game.
What was it like when Willis walked through the tunnel?
Oh, man, it was electrifying. We never thought that he would. We actually didn't know if he would come out or not. So when he came out, I'll never forget West, Baylor, Chamberlain. They stopped doing what they were doing to stare at Willis Reed. And at that moment, I thought, hey, man, we got these guys. It gave me so much confidence.
How can we get this far into the conversation and we haven't mentioned Michael Jordan in Utah?
Well, he only won 6 championships.
He did, and it's tough to pick which moment from those championships you might get. But I not only like the shot over Brian Russell at the end, but the moment before that when he steals the ball from Karl Malone, I think that adds to the whole drama.
Don't you think he got away with a little push there to get himself so wide open?
No way. That was just
all the great ones got that one, didn't they?
I'm still with Willis Reed, though. Willis Reed, inspiration and how he lifted the Knicks up to really take the game to another level. So, like Clyde said, you know, I like the Willis Reed moment.
Let's see how the fans voted on NBA.com. Michael Jordan, believe it or not, his shot to win the 1998 championship was chosen as the greatest finals moment. Legends like Michael and Magic displayed their greatness for many years. But sometimes it just takes one shot at just the right moment for players to cement their place in NBA history, and that brings us to our next category, the NBA's greatest shot.
7, 6, 5, DeBusschere shoots, hit with 3 seconds to go. 2 seconds, 1 second. West throws it up. He makes it. West threw it up and makes it. Over half court.
Tied at 100, game 6 on the line here. Russell to Stockton. Stock for 3. Stock got it. Unbelievable. John Stockton. John Stockton. Up. No good. Rebound Day. Day with 5 seconds into the front court. Goes to Malone into the corner. Malone throws up a brick left side. God! Oh my goodness, what a shot!
McCray will inbound. 1 second on the clock. Sampson. It goes. It's over. A miraculous shot by Ralph Sampson has given the Houston Rockets the trip to Boston for the NBA World Title.
One of the greatest shots I'd say was Reggie against the Knicks with his flurry of threes at the Garden.
105.99, 18.7 seconds left. Miller for 3, and he got it. Reggie Miller with a clutch tray, and it's 105-102. And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits it again. Reggie Miller has tied the game with 13 seconds remaining. Reggie Miller made a 3, stole the ball, raced behind the three-point line, and hit again. One of the greatest clutch playoff performers of his generation has apparently done it again.
Certainly no one is happier about the retirement of Reggie Miller than the Knicks, who he burned time and time again for seems like generations. Now, Rick Bucher, in covering the NBA, you witnessed so many of these dramatic shots. Which one stands out for you?
Mine is a sentimental choice, and I'm going to go with Sean Elliott hitting the big 3 over the Trailblazers for 2 reasons.
The Memorial Day Massacre.
Exactly.
With the feet just over the edge
line. If he puts his heels down, he's out of bounds.
And history has changed.
And on top of that, the kidney transplant that he had to undergo after that, little did we know that he was dealing with such a serious disease at the time.
I was a little surprised that you didn't get any of those clips.
Well, that's all right, though. I like Sean Elliott's shot, too, but I also like Derek Fisher in 2004. And when he
Not Robert Horry?
Oh, no,
when
Derek
he beat
Fisher.
The Sacramento Kings?
Derek Fisher shot one and just ran into the locker room. I mean, it was special.
But if you're looking at degree of difficulty, you got to go with Jerry West's shot. I mean, this is a shot, if it's a three-point play, game's over.
Yeah, I was there, man. I remember that.
You were guarding
him. I was not guarding him. I remember that determined look in his eyes. But I also saw Reggie Miller's heroics against the Knicks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
2 consecutive three-pointers.
Dave, if you notice, he got off with a push-off on Greg Anthony to get that second one, too. The great ones, we give him that.
Okay, well, that's what our panel has to say on that one, the greatest shot. But let's see how the fans voted. And the winner, Derek Fisher's buzzer beater against the Spurs in the 2004 playoffs. Still to come, we'll turn our attention to the NBA's greatest duels and coaching performances. You are watching the NBA's Top 10 Greatest on the History Channel. Welcome back to the NBA's Top 10 Greatest. Now, over the years, the NBA's had some classic confrontations, whether it's two powerful teams battling for supremacy or two great players going head-to-head. So for our next category, we posed the question, what was the NBA's greatest duel?
The greatest duel. I would say, all the championships between Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Those two players, one was, just extremely dominant, from the offensive end. But Russell was almost like the exact opposite. He was all about team, and he was probably the greatest defensive player ever.
West all alone. Look at Russell come down. And what a play! What hustle by Russell!
Man, the obvious one is Lakers Celtics. That has to be the top one. A lot of things made that rivalry special. LA and being a Showtime atmosphere and environment. Boston's more gritty and grimy, and then you have Larry Bird on one side and you have Magic Johnson on the other side. There was just so many contrasts, and it all just took center stage in the NBA Finals repeatedly throughout the 80s, and that has to be the top.
To me, one of the greatest duels was Dominique Wilkins versus Larry Bird. I remember they were in a playoff game and they were just battling each other, point for point, possession for possession, all the way into a Game 7 in Boston Garden.
Bird cuts free, left hands it for the field goal. Mano duel, Bird versus Wilkins.
Wilkins responds.
Anything's liable to happen between the two of them.
It's Bird's turn. You are watching what greatness is all about.
Dominique matched Bird shot for shot, and I'm sure if the time didn't run out, they'd still be scoring on each other right now.
The league has had so many compelling duels, and George, you had one of your own back in 1978. You and David Thompson right down to the final day for the scoring title.
That was real interesting. David had scored 73 points early that day, and I needed 59 to regain the scoring title. I was leading the league.
Where's the defense?
It's amazing how we got the winners. We had Dave Cowens winning, we have you winning.
Well, I enjoy that, but I still think the greatest moment has got to be Wilt and Russell.
I would have to agree with that. They played 142 times against each other.
Them two guys, man, they competed against each other.
Thank God for those two guys. That was the first great matchup, and that catapulted basketball. As a youngster, that's all I used to hear about was Russell Chamberlain.
And they were at their best against each other. Wilt's greatest games were really against Bill Russell, even though the Celtics won most of the time.
Can you imagine if you had that particular matchup with the coverage that they get today in basketball, how great that would be for the game?
Being the voice of the TV age, I'm going to have to go with Larry Legend and Magic, simply because that duo went at it over years, and it seemed every year whoever got the best of the other, that's decided the championship for that year.
But they did not play nearly as often as Wilt and Russell did. Okay, now let's see what the fans have to say about it. The rivalry between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson was voted the NBA's greatest duel. Some duels are decided not just by the talent on the court, but by the leadership on the sidelines. The influence of coaches has played a big part in some legendary team accomplishments. And with that in mind, here's our next category, greatest coaching performances.
Stay tough. Stay tough. That's what it's about. You gotta believe that, guys. You fought too hard. Every one of you grab each other and trust each other.
let's meet some of the very best. The champs, the Boston Celtics.
What made Red arguably the greatest coach in NBA history was his ability to read and understand and manipulate men.
It takes a real man to make the NBA, and a better one to stay there year after year.
He knew when to step up and challenge people. He knew when to back away. He knew when to do a lot of things to keep relationships on the team going.
I'm going to start the ball with a triangle spot. We're going to operate out of our offense, run from the defense. We'll do this a few times.
I know it's been a lot of great coaches, but he's been a guy that's had a lot of good players, but has had players buy into the system. And it's hard to have multiple superstar players on one team and get them to buy into a system to win a championship. So Phil Jackson definitely has to be the best coach of all time.
One of the strong suits that Phil Jackson has is he's great at relating to the players, getting them to respond and play at a higher level. The role players, that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th guy, getting them to buy into his concept, making them feel like they just as important as the first 5. And I think that's one of the skills that has made Phil Jackson the coach that he is today.
Of course, I'm a little biased towards Jack Ramsay and our 1977 Portland Trailblazers, but he's in a very tough category here with legends like Red Auerbach and Phil Jackson. Now, Dave, you've been a coach in this league. What stands out in your mind?
Well, I have to go with Red Auerbach because coaches are defined by winning, and if you win 8 consecutive titles with basically maybe the same guys and 1 or 2 guys coming in every now and then to help your team, you can't argue with that.
But you never played for Red.
I just played when he was in the front office, but
Which
I
is
knew
like playing for Red.
Well, really, because Heinsohn was a disciple of Red. We were running the same plays that those guys ran.
You guys had plays? What about Red Holtzman, though? I mean, that guy was really special, and what you guys did in changing the history of basketball.
Yeah, I always pay homage to Red for changing my career. Also, getting us to play as a team. He believed in the team concept on offense and defense, and he was definitely the catalyst for us winning.
Ice?
I like Bill Russell. I mean, Bill
as a
Russell,
player coach.
As a player coach. I mean, and first African American coach to win a championship. I think that's real special in itself.
Has any other player coach ever won a championship in basketball?
Not as I can recall.
We'll just have to go to our research staff.
There you go.
Rick, aren't you in charge of that department?
I'll get right on that. I want to give my vote to Dr. Jack simply because he coached to Bill Walton, who, remember that long hair and that diet you were on? And
Jack had a full head of hair before he started coaching.
I seem to remember you had a lot more hair then too, if I'm not mistaken.
A lot redder too.
The biggest transformation for me, though, is what Phil Jackson has done as a coach, considering what he was, and Clyde can certainly speak to this, the kind of guy he was as a player, that he would be marshaling 6 championship teams is amazing for a guy that we knew as Maverick back in his playing days.
Yeah, we all flabbergasted at his metamorphosis for sure, but Phil was an intelligent guy, and I could see a lot of the influence from Red Holtzman, where Phil became a player's coach, that players could have an impact in what was going on, and he became very successful.
But right now, it's time for the fans to weigh in. And they selected Phil Jackson for guiding the Bulls to 6 NBA titles in 8 years. When we come back, we'll take a look at the greatest performances from the NBA Slam Dunk Competition. You are watching the NBA's Top 10 Greatest on the History Channel. Some of the NBA's most electrifying moments have occurred not in any game, but in the slam dunk contest. And since 1976, it's been a launching pad for some of the game's highest flyers. We now turn our attention to the greatest performances from the history of the slam dunk contest.
He makes it look like it's routine, but watch, look how far away he is. That's a great start for Dominique.
Oh my, that's the cherry on the sundae.
Dr. J invented this dunk 20 years ago, and Brent Barry is going to do it in the first round. He's bringing it out. You have to get the crowd involved. Kobe understands that, I hope, and he'll do it this time.
Between the legs, Kobe Bryant.
Greatest dunk of all time in a dunk contest.
Vince Carter might have that one with the reverse 360 windmill. Yeah, that was crazy.
Vince Carter with his first stop.
Let's go home! Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen! Let's go home!
This building just exploded.
It's over! It's over, ladies and gentlemen!
Dr. J, just because he used the original, the first one to jump from the free throw line with the afro blowing in the air and all that.
Julius Erving.
You know, I can cut it real plain and sweet and say MJ, but that'll be too easy.
It's nothing new, but again, it's spectacular and in front of the home crowd.
Now that's the one he calls the kiss the rim because he takes his face right up to the rim, ducks it under, and then windmills.
Michael, from the free throw line, cocking it back, spreading his legs and cocking it back. That was tough.
Ice, you competed in the first slam dunk contest in '76 where Dr. J took off from the foul line. You were also a judge in 2000 when Vince Carter did all kinds of unbelievable stuff. Your thoughts on where the champion of the slam dunk contest comes from?
Well, I mean, I'm glad to be proud of the first, in '76 when we, created the slam dunk contest, and to be able to see Dr. J, jump from the free throw line. David Thompson was at that time there, doing the 360.
Did Dr. J's hair hurt or help him?
It probably helped him stay up in the air a little bit longer.
Dave, I know you were a terrific dunker yourself.
I wish you'd have been in one of those dunk contests. I'd like to see that.
I think I've seen you in a commercial in a dunk contest, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely, with the trampoline.
Very nice.
Walt Frazier, who was your favorite dunker of all time?
I think Carter, man. I liked his style. He was very creative in what he was doing, whereas most of the guys were just dunking forward. He had the 360 between the legs, so I think he added a lot of creativity to it.
What about Dominique Wilkins? Nobody's talked about
the human highlights.
And Dominique to this day claims that he was jobbed in Chicago.
You know what? And I agree with him. I think he won that contest.
But he was beat soundly when Spud Webb won it in Dallas.
No argument there.
You think about 5'7" guy winning a dunk contest.
How about Kenny Smith? The time he bounced it through his legs, took it off the board, and then threw it down. That was very special. But let's right now reveal the voting of the fans. Is Vince Carter's sensational performance at the 2000 Slam Dunk Contest. Second, Michael Jordan in 1988, followed by the unlikely victory of 5'7" tall Spud Webb. And just like the story of Spud, our next category features teams and players who overcame all sorts of odds and stunned the basketball world. It's time to determine the NBA's greatest upset.
Charlie Ward inbounding on the right sideline. Houston pops out up top. Down the lane. Running jumper off the front rim and in.
And the New York Knicks have become the second number 8 team in NBA history to knock off a number 1.
For the Washington Bullets, the string has run out. They must either win today or suffer those embarrassing questions all summer long.
I don't know how many teams have come from as many games behind as we have to wind up becoming champions of the world and beating a team 4 straight that they were supposed to do that to us.
I heard the background, sweep, sweep, sweep. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah. If we can go to Denver and sweep and get some rest, I think it'd be good for us.
A little more of that aggressive defense in Seattle. Robert Pat dribbles right in. And the door is still open for the Nuggets.
Mutombo embraces the ball and the unlikely upset.
And the look of just accomplishment on Dikembe Mutombo's face when he was holding the ball, laying on the floor at the end of the game, made me want to be a part of that, made me want to experience that.
11.2 to go in this fourth quarter. And then Brown lost it. Here comes McGrady. No timeout remaining. McGrady at the buzzer. Yes!
I've never been a part of anything like this, so you got to excuse me.
Tracy McGrady with an incredible performance down the stretch.
The greatest upset in NBA history was 2003, 2004 NBA championship when the Detroit Pistons beat the Los Angeles Lakers. And why? Because they didn't double team Shaq and the Lakers still lost.
The step up, baseline left. But Bill follows it up with a flush.
We shook up the world! What? We shook up the world!
Now Now, Walt, you were involved in one of the greatest upsets and comebacks ever. You're down 18 points with a couple minutes to go down the street at the Garden against the Milwaukee Bucks that have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson, and you win the game.
That's what made it phenomenal. You had the leading scorer in the history of the NBA, and Oscar Robertson, perhaps the greatest backcourt man to ever play the game, that they could go over 5.5 minutes without scoring.
How'd you do it?
Defense.
You were stripping Oscar.
For that Madison Square Garden home cooking.
Dave, what stands out in your mind?
Well, I'm going to go Celtics because, you got a team in 1969. It was an aging team. They had won a championship the year before. They finished 4th in their division. They go out 7th game. They got the balloons ready to come down, and they end up winning on Nelson's shot that hits, goes up, and comes down.
Rick, you're a Bay Area guy. What about that 75 upset with Rick Barry, Al Attles, Jamal Wilkes, Phil Smith, a lot of great players on that?
No question about it. Nobody expected. It was supposed to go the other way, as Rick Barry tells us. But the one that gets me is the Nuggets knocking off the Sonics, simply because that was not a very good Nuggets team, and that was supposed to be a Sonics team that was going to win a championship that year, and that opened the door for Houston to go and get their first one.
How about the Houston Rockets, though, against Shaquille O'Neal in his first final appearance in 1995? That was just unbelievable when Akeem first took apart David Robinson and then Shaquille O'Neal back-to-back. Now, we've heard from our panelists here. Now, what about how the fans ranked those upsets? Tracy McGrady's incredible finish against the Spurs this season when he scored 13 points in the last 35 seconds of the game. Still to come, we'll answer the question, who is the NBA's greatest new star? You are watching the NBA's Top 10 Greatest on the History Channel. Throughout the show, we've seen some classic performances from the NBA's legends. But the cast of stars is constantly changing, and today's young players are leaving their own mark on this league. Which brings us to our next category. Who is the greatest new star in the NBA?
He's going to drive inside. Spin. Shot by Amari Stoudemire.
Dwayne Wade. That's special. No other way to say it. That is special in this league.
And off balance, what a way that it is good.
Saving it as Mutombo again. Here comes McGrady all the way. Stuffs it home for two.
Don't none of them stand next to in my eyes, to LeBron James, man. I think he's going to be special, and he's going to be special for a long time.
LeBron James against Brown. Wheels and deals on the pass and the dunk to good.
James will push it on Heinrich. LeBron James swooping to the hoop.
He's a rare, talent. He's the type of talent you only see come around like once every 20 years.
James will go to the hole. LeBron James loves levitation.
LeBron is a young star. He brought a lot of excitement to the league, and he's the next great young player. There's a lot of players in his position before him, but he will quickly surpass all of them and become the man of this league.
LeBron James just came out of the ramp in downtown Cleveland.
When Michael left, that's what everybody's now pointing to. Who's the next Michael? There's one Michael that I know of. I don't think there's another Michael out there, but there surely is LeBron James. And I think you have to let them evolve to who they are and become the best player they can be. And I think that basketball, from that standpoint, is in great shape.
It's an impressive collection of young players who are carrying the NBA into the future. And Rick, as someone who covers the league more than anyone out there, who do you like as the greatest new star in the league?
Well, I'm sure LeBron James is the runaway choice, but for me, it's Manu Ginobili. You know he's going left. You just don't know when he's going left. And half the fun is watching his coach, Greg Popovich, on the sideline, tearing his hair out, not knowing exactly whether Manu's going to break the play, go with it, or do something he's never seen before.
Which is kind of the way Walt Frazier started his career as well.
I like him too, man. His tenacity. He's fearless, going to the basket, challenging people. I like Carmelo Anthony's game as well. He has a good post-up move on the low post.
And Carmelo's gotten himself in shape. And let's discount the first part of this season because he's really playing.
Well, I like any high-energy player, and Dwayne Wade and LeBron are guys that play hard all the time. LeBron is such a big guy for the backcourt. He almost makes the court look smaller when he's out there because he covers so much distance. But the guy has the greatest impact economically on the game, Yao Ming. He brings 1 billion people with him.
Well, Yao Ming is tremendous, and just think how much better he's going to get. The guy I really like is Amari Stoudemire. Because Amari Stoudemire, he was reluctant to come and play in the middle where Dave was the MVP and the 2-time champion.
He's amazing.
And now
but
he's
Nash coming in and making him a lot better because Nash pushed the ball up and give Stoudemire a chance to run up the floor and be able to use a lot of his
athleticism. The same way that you
athleticism.
made artists.
Same way I made
the same way that Walt made Willis.
Yeah, you know, big guys won't run if they don't get the ball.
Get the basketball.
Is there anybody here who doesn't think that it's going to be LeBron James? And no surprise here, as it is indeed LeBron James, who wins with over 50% of the vote. Our next category is the NBA's greatest dynamic duos.
Either Kobe comes first with the jab, and then you follow with me, the knockout.
Kobe on the move. Lobster O'Neal to the net. Kobe Bryant worked into the lane, and Shaq hammered it in with the right hand.
3, 2, 1. A three-peat and a sweep.
I'd give a nod to Magic and Kareem because those two, they played and they respected each other and they both had their job to do and they did it.
I don't believe my eyes. What a play.
Kareem was, very laid back and passive in his personality.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Magic was the fiery type.
And Magic Johnson is out there celebrating.
The 1956-57 season, the Celtic dynasty came into being. With the coming of Bill Russell, the Celtics featured the dynamic duo of Bob Cousy and Bill Russell.
The Boston Celtics are the world champions.
If it's a guard and the big man combination, I would have to say Karl Malone and John Stockton.
Stockton, trailer below. Scores it. Penalty's fouled. Oh, they've done that a time or two.
Stockton and Malone. I mean, the mailman always delivers. That duo right there is almost self-explanatory.
That's a dynamic duo again of Stockton and Malone.
Michael and Scotty. I mean, I know it might sound cliche, but, those guys just did it year in and year out.
Bulls have numbers. To Scotty.
Yeah, I have to say Jordan and Pippen. They play so well off each other.
Oh, no look to Scotty.
Scottie Pippen was the NBA Player of the Month in December. Michael Jordan, the NBA Player of the Month in January.
I want to take my hat off to the two leaders on this team, Scotty and Michael.
And now, let's hear what our panel has to say. Clyde, you formed a very tough combo with Willis Reed. Who is your pick?
Kareem and the Magic Man. I'd have to go with that.
Over Kareem and Oscar?
Oscar was older when he joined Kareem. That's the only reason. Russell, Cousy was Lilliputian, so that's why I'm going with the Magic Man.
Lilliputian, sort of like Ice's defensive game.
Tim Duncan and David Robinson. I mean, I think them two big guys really complemented each other real well, and they made the difference. David played a lesser role and understood the value of giving Tim the confidence, and they went 2 out of 5 years. So
nobody's mentioned Wilt Chamberlain yet. How about Wilt and anybody?
Well, you got a point.
Yeah, you got a point.
Hal Greer. I had to go against Hal Greer and Wilt.
Billy Cunningham.
Nobody's mentioned Michael and Scotty either, and you're talking about two guys who won 6 championships and did it. If you look at some of these other duos, there was always a great third guy as well that fit into the equation. And you could argue that the surrounding cast with Michael and Scotty was not quite as good. They never had that third guy to go with.
They had Dennis Rodman, they had Ron Harper, they had Tony Kukoc.
Like I said, they never quite had.
How about Phil Jackson as the third one? Dave, what do you like in this?
I would have to go with Clyde and say that it's Magic and Kareem because that's you got two guys that were dominant in both of those particular positions.
What about you and John Havlicek? What about Larry Bird and Kevin McHale.
Well,
you've picked a Celtic every other time here today. What about Bill Russell and Bob Cousy?
So yeah, I'm not a partial
Change
guy.
is good.
Well, let's reveal now how the fans have rated the dynamic duos over the generations. And it is the Bulls tandem of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen topping the list with 48% of the vote. Magic and Kareem were second. While co-stars can accomplish great things together, the NBA has had many unforgettable solo acts, and they've given us plays that are etched into the memory of every fan. Here now are the NBA's greatest moves.
Down to Akeem. Trying to turn baseline. Isaiah's got it. Isaiah Thomas was like a maestro.
What a super shot by the captain.
Here goes Meredith.
Oh my goodness. How did he do that?
Boston would like to cut this to a one-point game. Larry Bird. That almost his own shot.
It's not luck when you see Larry do something like that. None of the teammates were surprised by that left-hand flip shot or half finger roll, whatever you want to call it. He does it all the time in practice.
Julius in the air, palming it with the right hand, floating, reaching.
Dr. J. When he went up, he started on one side of the basket and on the other side. I don't know how he did that.
Unbelievable. Julius Erving. Watch this fantastic move by the doctor.
The greatest move? You know, growing up, I was a big Michael Jordan fan.
Jordan. By Michael Jordan. You can't believe that one, can you? You better.
The greatest move had been Allen Iverson, the crossover he put against Michael Jordan. I mean, I didn't mean it's hard to keep Mike out of things, but the crossover move he had against Michael Jordan is one of the greatest moves.
Iverson has Jordan. The crowd is into it. Allen shakes free. Gets two.
Coming up, we'll talk about the NBA's greatest moves. You are watching the NBA's Top 10 Greatest on the History Channel. Welcome back. We ended our last segment with a look at the NBA's greatest moves. So many stars have their signature moves that have become part of their legacy. And George, your trademark was the finger roll. What was your favorite move in the history of the NBA?
Well, I mean, I did like my finger roll, to be honest.
As well
with
you should.
I do, but, you know, I like Dr. J going on the baseline, going around on the other end and laying it up.
With the reverse spin.
With the reverse spin. I think, to me, that's better than a dunk. You know, I mean, it really showed the artisticness of a player, and I really think that's really what makes the fans excited.
Dave, how about you?
Well, I was such a big fan of Earl Monroe because the guy never jumped more than this far, but he had so many people up and down and missing and just smiling the whole time. A very charismatic guy. And
I second that emotion.
I third that emotion. Crested.
What about Kareem Sky Hook? I mean, you and I both are on the receiving end.
Well, textbook and very consistent. He couldn't do anything about it.
There was nothing anyone could do. Rick?
You go to big men. For me, first of all, a play in a playoff situation gets extra credit. Akeem doing what he did with the shake. It wasn't just one shake. If I remember correctly, there were several in that game. And he did it in the year that David won the league MVP. And it was Akeem's way of saying, give me that trophy.
What about Michael Jordan? I mean, he had quite a few very spectacular plays.
I remember one at the Garden on the baseline against Ewing and Oakley. Michael shook him and came in for a thunderous dunk that turned the game around.
I think half the Knicks ended up in the bench going for the first dunk, and then he crushed it.
Well, I played in the game where Michael got 63 points in the NBA playoffs and fouled the entire team out. Larry Bird was fortunate enough not to foul out, and he won the game in the double overtime there. Absolutely incredible. And now the results of the fan voting on NBA.com. Michael Jordan is the winner with his switching of the hands in the air in the 1991 NBA Finals by a very narrow margin over Dr. J's mid-air maneuver in the 1980 Finals. Now it's time for the final category in the NBA's top 10 greatest. And few questions have stirred up more impassioned debate around the league than this one. What was the greatest championship team in NBA history?
Greatest of all time. I mean, I would think you would have to go back to the Boston Celtics when Red Auerbach was the coach. Just the number of championships they won, I think that speaks for itself.
Celtics teams, just how many championships they won consecutively. Their dominance over the NBA over their time is unprecedented.
There's a lot of teams that 1-2, 1-3. But if I had to answer that question, I'll go with the Boston Celtics, Bill Russell. They won 11 championships, so that would have to be the greatest team of all time.
Magic is straight down the middle. Still going, still going. Oh! Highlights, Bill!
Team was the greatest of all time. The era of Magic Johnson, the Lakers. I think with those guys, I had a great point guard with Magic and James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Cooper. The game was very exciting to watch when Magic and the Showtime crew came to play.
The team was the greatest of all time. The Bulls. Any one of those years, throughout their 6 championships, they had Michael, Scotty, Dennis, and all their role players, BJ, John. So the Bulls are definitely, the top of the list.
Behind the back, Pippen. What a play! What a play!
It's tough to say who's the best team of all time. Since the early 90s, you have to throw any one of the Chicago Bulls teams up there. One could argue the Lakers or Celtics of the 80s, the Celtics of the 60s. I don't know who the greatest of all time, but I think those teams show that their true greatness and that they were able to dominate during their run. And I'll leave that to the barbershops.
Okay, Grant, we're going to save you a trip to the barbershop there because we're going to have the story right here and settle this question right here once and for all with our panel. And one of our finalists played on one of the absolute greatest teams of all time. Walt, you were on that 1970 Knicks team. What's your favorite championship team?
67 Sixers. Wilt Chamberlain was not concerned about scoring. I think he led the league in assists that year. Hal Greer, Wally Jones, Chet Walker, Billy Cunningham.
But wait a second. They had lost all those championships to the Celtics with Bill Russell and Havlicek.
I'm talking one team that's greatest of all time. That team. They mauled you, man. I'm hurting right now just talking about them. Trying to get over those screens.
I'm going to go with another Wilt Chamberlain team. And the year they won 33 in a row and then just rolled over everybody in the playoffs. They were as dominant as anybody I'd ever played against.
Mark this date down in NBA history. Dave Cowens has voted for a Laker team. Rick, who do you like?
Dave, you're on the right coast, but you came a little early on that one. Showtime Lakers. As much as I like the Knicks, maybe had the best nicknames of any great championship team. Showtime. How can you top Kareem, Magic, James?
72 Lakers. Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, 33 in a row to go on and win it. I think, Rick,
they only had the 33 because they didn't play the Knicks during that run. That's the only reason they survived.
What about Larry Bird's Celtic teams? What about Bill Russell's early Celtic
Dave should be taking up the charge on this.
I mean, if you're going to say, how many championships did a team win, then you have to go with the Celtics. But one particular year, as far as being a dominating team, you have to go with the numbers.
So let's check out the fan voting on NBA.com. And sure enough, it was the 1996 Chicago Bulls who won an astounding 72 games and an 82-game schedule. And that'll just about do it for this NBA special. I'd like to thank our experts who joined us here at the NBA store in New York City. 3 of the greatest players this game has ever seen. Walt Frazier, George Gervin, and Dave Cowens, along with the senior writer for ESPN The Magazine, Rick Bucher. Also, our thanks to all the fans who submitted their votes online, giving us their opinions on the great events that have defined NBA history. I'm Bill Walton, and we're glad you can join us for the NBA's Top 10 Greatest here on the History Channel.
It's the size of a small building, and there is nothing we can do to stop it. The blast equals 3 megatons of TNT. When is the next deadly impact? And what are we doing about it? Meteors, fire in the sky. Tonight at 8 on the History Channel.